Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. It is going to be an Omega run, but for this Omega, it's actually like kind of a banger episode, if I do say so myself. I unintentionally left a whole bunch of the really good books for this Omega run. And so for this week, I actually want to do two because I was just a little bit behind. I didn't do any last week, but I'm caught up on the number of books that I've read. So I was like, okay, might as well just crank them out if we read them. Just got to find time to record them. So this one should go out tonight. This is Tuesday I'm recording. Should be doing another Omega on Thursday, and then we'll have our standard issue on Saturday, and then we'll kind of be back into our regular routine and cadence. So, you heard the sound, and like I mentioned, it's an Omega. We'll just go ahead and get right into our review. And today we have 10 on the docket. Surprise, surprise. So for the video viewers, of course, you see the camera up here. For audio, I'll just go through them real quick, just so you know and you are aware, in case you're brand new to the show. I do spoil the heck out of all these books as I review them. I'll catch you up on where things are at right now. We'll talk about the actual book itself. I'll show off the art a little bit, and I'll let you know whether or not it's a good time to jump in, and, my overall thoughts of the book thus far. So, without further ado, we got these 10 books in this order. We'll start with Imperial 1. Then we'll have Justice League Unlimited, number 7. Void Rivals, 19. The Infinity Watch, number 5. That's the conclusion to that series. Bronze Faces, number 3. The Power Fantasy, number 9. We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, number 3. Storm, number 3. And Ghost Rider versus Galactus. Oh, and there's one more. I was like, I know there's one more book as well. The last one is Ultimate Wolverine, number 6. I just had that in my little staging area. So those are going to be the 10 that we review. We will start off here with Imperial. And I'll flip over for the folks on video to the share screen. So this book is really good. So it's Jonathan Hickman, of course, one of the GOATs, right? And for me, I actually didn't initially pull this book, and the only reason they threw this into my book into my box is, I guess the manager and the owner was like, hey, anyone that was on Ultimate Universe, they probably want to be on this as well, so let's just go ahead and get them added. So, happy surprise that I see it in there. I was going back and forth, like, should I add this, should I not? I am in this whole era of like, all right, let's shed a bunch of the fat so we just have stuff that we're actually genuinely interested in. And, I'll still go and pick up things, I think, every now and then, but I want to get it to that sweet spot where it's between, call it like, 10 to 15, 12 to 15 books. Once it's in there, then like for sure we'll take off the shackles and just get right back to it. But this one being in there, and then the manager too was like, this book is incredible. I was like, all right, let's just go ahead and do it. And I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I picked it up. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. The story here, and it's Jonathan Hickman, so it's what you would expect. It's a lot of exposition and setting up the world and what we're all going after. So main plot here is we have this intergalactic alliance that is basically taking place. It's Hulk, it's She-Hulk, and it's Brawn, who are heading back to effectively Planet Hulk, which is Sakaar, I believe it's how it's pronounced, and they are going for a funeral and a burial for a death. But on their way there, they find out that the world leader of this planet has died. And not only has the planet leader died here, multiple other leaders for this galactic alliance have died as well. And so when they get there, of course, they want to investigate and see what's going on. They have some almost like independent kind of autopsy, sentient robot things check in and see what it is, and they suspect it's some sort of poison. And sure enough, that is what it is. It's like a concoction of a couple of things. And they're like, the reason we know to look for this is because the other world leaders have also died for this. This is what we suspected, and this is what it is. So like, okay, well, that's fishy as hell. So we got to figure out what all this is about. So they decide to go to kind of the main council, the main hub area, and figure out what this all is. So that's one part of the book. The next part is Star-Lord actually has his father and then his mother. His mother is the queen of their planet, and she is dying as well. Same thing, it's from the poison, but they were able to catch it just in time and put him in this form of stasis. And so, but still, they confirmed it is this poison that is killing her. So the father has now taken on the mantle of being king, and Star-Lord is tasked basically with recruiting some of the Nova Court to be able to support. Seems like he fails at first, but we'll see further into the book. So now that we have confirmation on the Hulk side of things, we have confirmation on Star-Lord and his family side of things as well. We have this huge council meeting that was supposed to take place, and it was basically supposed to be about trade, setting up trade treaties between all these different hundreds of empires. And the meeting got pushed forward, obviously got this big emergency, and it's Star-Lord's father, who's like the new king, basically steps up and says, hey, I'm glad you guys all came early. Obviously, you know what's going on. You know, my queen is dying. The Hulks, their leaders died. Other leaders have died, and we know what it is. And so now it's like a whole bunch of world leaders. So imagine the UN on Earth, but this is intergalactic empires of like warring nations that have finally all come together. So the stakes couldn't be any higher. And what he decides to do is, and remember, full spoilers, full out. So if you don't want to hear it, don't. Stop now. But he goes and he calls out, he's like, I know exactly who did this poison, because apparently they did the research and they could figure out the origin of it. And it's the Skrulls and the Kree, empire that did it. And so the leader of the Skrulls and Kree is like, there's no way. He's all pissed off. It's like, how could this possibly be? That's impossible. There's no way we could have done this. And then one of his like right hand men is like, actually it was us. And they're like, what? Are you kidding me? It's like, yeah, it was us. We did manufacture the poison. We were tasked with putting together this weapon. We are expert weapon manufacturers, so this is what we did. We put together the weapon. But we did not use it. We did not use it at all. We sold it. And we sold it to, and when he's about to say who it is in front of this huge galactic council, as though it's like the Star Wars prequels, like that level of chamber of council in front of all these world leaders, he gets sniped in the head. And so it's a whole room full of world leaders. Everyone's freaking out. You got guards up on the ready. Everyone's like, shooting blasters, trying to figure out where exactly this comes from. They look up to the top and they see who it is. And he's wearing this armor, and it's a Wakandan. And so everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's the Wakandans. They didn't join this. They were supposed to be part of the peace treaty. They didn't want to send out more of their vibranium, and now somehow they're sabotaging everything. So as this is in space, of course, so as they're shooting everything, one of the glass panes blows out, and just like any other space vessel, right, everyone starts getting sucked out. These are world leaders, right? So there are several that are confirmed dead. There are several that are injured. There are several that are missing. And so, of course, after all of this, it's like the greatest terrorist attack that you could possibly imagine. What else is going to happen except for all-out warfare? And that's the cliffhanger that we are left off on. Awesome, awesome, awesome book. I love where we're going. And it's Hickman too, so he just takes you on this crazy, windy road, and then boom, he just lays it on you. It's like, this is where we're going with this. Hell yeah. So this was my story of the week. I just did my highlights. I posted that up on social media, on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm just talking through it right now. If you can't hear from the tone of my voice and see me directly on the screen, this is so hype. This is incredible stuff. Let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork here. Oh, that's the wrong button. So the artwork is fine. I mean, this is a double feature, right? So there's a lot to write out here. I'd say very good, but it's Hickman, right? So it's all about the story itself. So we have kind of the first part here with the Hulks. Then we get into the second part here on Star-Lord and his family and everything that they're deciding. And then we get into the good stuff. So calling out the council here and everything. And then here's where we make the big old accusation. All of these different empire leaders across the galaxy. And they make the huge accusation. Everyone's freaking out. And then boom, that's when the sniper comes in. Everyone's now freaking out. High alert. Where the hell is this guy? And then I think here is where he sees that it's a Wakandan. And then boom, everyone's getting sucked out here. It's just nuts and pandemonium. And then sure enough, they do confirm that it is a Wakandan that did it. And I think at the end here, it's basically Hulk is like, well, there's only one thing that can follow all of this. And it's war. Of course. That's Imperial. Highly recommend. It's a number one. I'm sure they're going to put this bad boy out in second printings. I think it's only a 4-part miniseries as well. Just jump in. I mean, this is it right here. So I am so looking forward to this. I'm so thankful that they threw this into my box. It happened to be the number one book for, picks of the week and everything. So that makes sense. Maybe that would have pushed me over the edge, or, maybe I would have picked it up on, just gotten the trade, or, read it for Marvel Unlimited, whatever the case may be. But yeah, obviously, highly recommend. Imperial, number one. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. Alrighty, next up here. On to the next book. We have Justice League Unlimited number 7. And this one I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. Very good book, very good story. Very fast-paced and action-paced. So we're at the point now where we're having some of the big conflicts are about to take place. So we have the Legion of Doom, and we have the Justice League. Legion of Doom has the upper hand and is winning at this point. And they've gotten to the point where they have scattered all the heroes throughout the timelines. Some are sent all the way back to like prehistoric era. Some are sent way into the future where it's just nothing but an apocalypse, right? There's just nothing out there but just barren. And all of these heroes that are scattered out, they have no way of communicating or getting back to the present world. While that's taking place, Grodd and all the other villains are starting to do all their villain things and realizing that, like, hey, am I going to get cut out of all this power? Like, how am I going to share in all this? And they begin the process of starting to betray one another. But Grodd, he goes to, it's like the center of like this energy void thing that's like floating in the air. And it's like the essence of Darkseid is the best way to describe it. And so he goes up to basically grab it and touch it. Others want a piece of it as well. But Grodd's like, you can't even handle this. This is only for me. Some do attempt to touch it, and I think they get hurt or injured or like die or vaporize or whatever the case is. So Grodd goes up to touch it. Then we go back to the heroes. They're all calling back, even though it's like kind of useless and futile, but hey, might as well try. Trying to get back to the main timeline and to the now, the present, and it's Airwave that they're able to somehow connect to. And Airwave, remember, is the initial betrayer, right? He's the new hero that came on board. He was actually under the influence of Grodd and betrayed all of them in the first place. So all of them are like, Airwave, what the hell? Like, how can you somehow communicate with all of us? And it's not that they can all communicate with one another. They can all just directly communicate with Airwave. So if Batman's in the prehistoric era, he's just talking to Batman. And then he's talking to Flash, who's in like the Victorian era. And then he's talking to Superman, who's like in the apocalyptic era. They're all like just pinging off of him. And Airwave's like, okay, well, if I can connect to you some way, somehow, maybe there's some way where I can bring all this back together and like merge it into one. So he attempts it, he fails, and then they're like, okay, put your back into it basically. And then he does it again and it's working. And so sure enough, all the heroes then come back together. That all happens at the same time that Grodd goes out and reaches that, kind of energy power from Darkseid. So I think it's a combination of the two, like power sources being linked together and then being charged up at the same time. And then sure enough, it pulls the Justice League back into the future, or the present. And then Grodd has fused or bonded with Darkseid, and he's now Omega Grodd with like the Omega Greek symbol on his forehead. And now we're going to have the major fight that's going to take place after this. Very cool, very dope. Very fast paced. All that took place in one issue. So that is where we are at. And, it's going to lead to a pretty big fight and conflict, I'd imagine, in issue 8, unless we do one of those weird things of like, let's add in a filler issue or 2 as well. So that is where we're at in the story. Let's go ahead and flip over to some of the art here. Very good DC. I mean, nothing too crazy or over the top, I'd say, but still solid nonetheless. I really did enjoy this book, and I liked how fast-paced and how action-packed it was. Makes sense to fuse all this with Airwave, so here's him connecting with all the different heroes and how they're basically going about it. And then still on this side, all the betrayals taking place with all the villains, and then Grodd is basically fusing. Here's where that fusion is starting to take place between both sides, on Grodd's with Darkseid, and then on all the other heroes that have been scattered without. Here's where he becomes Omega Grodd, basically, and right towards the end here is where the Justice League then pops in. We have a quick preview in this book of Superman Unlimited, and then I think it's also Mr. Terrific as well, which has been featured in a lot of these DC books. So that's Justice League Unlimited number 7. If you want to just get in and get to a book where you're going to be right before the big battle scene, this is the one. If you really don't care about all the other exposition, how we got here in the first place, I find that tends to be a big challenge for folks, so that's probably not the place that you want to get in. But if you're just like, I want to see superheroes do superhero stuff, this actually is a really good time to get in, and it's such a quick synopsis. It's not really a one-shot, but it almost works as a one-shot, so it actually, you might be okay if you wanted to. But in all seriousness and actuality, I'd recommend you start at the beginning, or at a cleaner start than here. I think this is part 5. Yeah, 3 would probably be the best place to actually jump in, but either way, I think you would be totally fine at this point. Remember, I say this, and I'll say it multiple times in case you haven't heard it or you're new or whatever the case is. Just go in and jump into any book. If you pick up like 5 books and you don't get the bug right from then and there, I'd imagine maybe not, unless you had horrible luck. But the chances that 5 books are bad and like you don't get the bug of like, I want to try to see and explore what other things are, maybe not the medium for you. But also then you don't have to like grab everything and have every little nook and cranny of the story, and you'll come to find out that a lot of that doesn't even really matter compared to what you're actually reading and what the run is that you're in right now compared to like the larger and grander story. Sometimes you get really rewarded, other times you don't. So you come to learn that maybe it's just not worth it, and it's more about what's on the actual page of what I'm reading. So keep that in mind as you're weighing whether or not to jump into the hobby or pick up a certain book or whatever the case may be. But anyways, that's Justice League Unlimited number 7. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. Next up here we have is Void Rivals number 19. Man, 19. It's crazy to think that we're that far already. But we sure are. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. I was actually thinking 3.5 on this one, so I think what pushed me over to 4 is like, honestly, sometimes I'll just look at League and be like, okay, well, I'm up in the air. It's a coin toss. Whichever way League is going towards, I'll just end up going that way. And I think that was a case of this one. But I think back to it, and it's like, this is truly a filler issue. Like, it truly is. We got Skuxoid here, face that only a mama could love. And he is just kind of like our lovable oaf. And he's been woven in and out in the story, but his plot is not even B, it's like C plot in all of this. And it's actually kind of been interesting as to why he's even still featured into the story. Has a lot of plot armor as well, and all the stuff that he's doing, it's like, okay, it's like happening, but does it really matter or have any sort of impact? Well, here we come to find out in this issue that maybe it does. We basically find out that Skuxoid is a clone. So he's just a clone that's been repeating this life, and he thinks that he has a wife and kids, and all the different Skuxoids he finds out all have the same memories. So he ends up on the planet with a whole bunch of them, and he's starting to realize, like, oh, his life hasn't really mattered. He was featured in the story as to, he was the one that initially found our 2 protagonists in the first place. He went to sell them off, then he was... they were able to escape, and then he's kind of just been floating out there and just doing his own little thing out there, just kind of just being a goon, to be honest. But we basically find out that he is a clone, and now he's like marooned on a planet, and it's like a trash planet with a whole bunch of other Skuxoids that are just getting pumped out. But for whatever reason, he is then summoned off-world by a different being. And he's like, okay, well, I might as well see what this is all about. And he meets Skuxoid Prime, who's, we assume, or Skuxoid Alpha, maybe it is, we assume is like the original that he's all cloned after, right? So he's the Jango Fett of all the Boba Fetts, basically. So, yeah, it's... an interesting book. Doesn't have anything to do with the main story whatsoever. It's just like this one-off story about this one character. That's basically how it breaks down. So you can see probably why I was waffling. And I'm not like super connected to this character. I'd imagine some people just really love him, but for me it wasn't that much. So here he initially dies, and we're like, oh no, that's problematic. But then there were 2. That seems weird, and then you come to find out that there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all clones, and they all have the same memories, and now they're trapped on this like junk world. But here is where they basically are going to get summoned to come up and join Skuxoid Alpha. And so honestly here, I thought these guys were going to be from Saga for a second, but they're not. So it's it's not, or at least they haven't made any full indication. But yeah, here is where we made Mr. Skuxoid Alpha here, and he wants him to join his army, and you can see all the others in the background here. So again, filler issue for me, so I'm hoping next one we just get back to the bread and butter of where the story was actually going, and we just focus in on that content for a little bit. So again, that's Void Rivals number 19. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Next up we have is the Infinity Watch, and this is the conclusion to this little mini series here. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5. League, on the other hand, only gave it a 3.8. I was actually surprised that League was so low on this. I think the art on this is a 5 out of 5, phenomenal. And you'll see as I open through it and we flip through it, it just gets very meta, and like we start fighting into like the gutter rails of like the actual paneling itself. And the art like kind of sits on top of one another, so the juxtaposition that you have of the different characters and everything, it's incredible. So really, really liked it on that piece. For the plot itself, I can understand completely why someone would give this a lower score, right? It is one of those situations of we're fighting, it's like a multiversal thing, it's the Infinity Stones, so you have all this like crazy interdimensional stuff that can happen. We have Zavala, who's our big bad. He's from a different universe. All of his Infinity Stone cohorts have died, and he's looking to recreate his own universe, but he needs Infinity Stones to do it. So he's come to our universe, and our Infinity Stones are now wielded by a whole bunch of misfits that are now teamed up together. And so the reason that Zavala's stones have died, there's like this whole combine of folks that have go out and basically hunt down different Infinity Stone holders across multiple universes. And so basically we've gotten to the point where Zavala's, they've all died, he's the last one, and he needs our worlds to recreate his universe. We're in the midst of the final battle here. So we started off where Zavala seemed like a friend, turned to foe. Then we went into a different reality. We've come out of that reality back to the real world, and we're in the final fight. So this is where things get all weird and mind-bending and fourth dimension and all of that. But in the end, in order to defeat him, basically they convince him that this was all a dream, and he wakes up and he goes on to live some sort of other life. So that's the hand-wavy way that we conclude this story, which I can understand for some folks. It's like, what the F? Like, you're going to make it that plain and simple? Like, come on. We can be a little more creative than that. But for the art just took it over the top for me. And if the story was just like a little bit more, didn't feel like they just mailed it in or phoned it in, it'd be like, this is perfection. So good. But say levy, it is not. And at the end of all of this, the Infinity Watch decides, hey, we are it's too dangerous for us all to be combined together. So let's actually go off. And they literally, I think, go into different realities as well. They go into different universes too, just to stay apart from one another. And that way they don't have this incident basically happen all over again. So that kind of buttons it up pretty nicely. But let's flip into this art. I've been teasing it, so let's talk about it. Alrighty. As I was reading through this, I was like, this is so cool. So we start off here, right? So Zavala is literally like crunching down reality on the different panels on top of one another. Then you have one of the Infinity just like literally punch through the panel itself, so that way another one could fly out of it. I was like, are you kidding me? So it's like stuff like that is just awesome. Here, pushing Zavala into another panel, and then they land into their reality themselves. Here you have like him holding up a panel of the comic itself and reflecting it over to Agent Coulson. Like, what are you talking about? Incredible stuff. Riding on a stone outside of reality to head into the panels that they're all facing. I'm like, this stuff is just ridiculous. So cool, fourth wall breaking for me. I mean, sure, there are other books that are out there, but this is the first one that I've experienced gone to this level, right? And then like literally taking the lettering and jumping on it and then using it as a weapon to smash into Zavala. Are you kidding? This stuff is awesome. And then using it to stab through him. Like, my gosh, so cool. So yeah, from all of this, I was like, this is it. I absolutely love this, right? You have Zavala shooting down a ray across multiple panels on the entire page. It's just excellent, excellent stuff. So highly, highly recommend on just the art alone. I mean, for me personally, it just took it really all to the next level. So I really enjoyed Infinity Watch. Overall, I would say though, just being real, League was down on the story for the most part. Of the 5 issues, I think 3 were probably worth it. 2 probably sucked, I would say. Just being honest with you guys. But I enjoyed it. Maybe catch it on, Marvel Unlimited, and you get it a couple of months after you have the whole story ready to go. Maybe in trade. It helps clear up a lot of things because you just have one continuous story and you're not waiting for it on a monthly basis. But for me, it's a recommend for me personally, but I just want to put it out there that League did rate them a lot lower than I did. So I gave this issue 4.5. League gave it a 3.8. But man, I enjoyed the ride. The next one is Bronze Faces number 3. And this one is an interesting one. It's an independent from Boom Studios. I gave this one a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. And it's especially interesting because I actually decided to drop this. And as I'm talking about dropping stuff, I should mention I did realize as I go into the site and the way that we have it set up with our local comic book shop is basically when you drop something, you're still going to get the next issue. So I actually may still get issue number 4, depending on the time that when I dropped it, if it was already confirmed. So any of the other stuff that I said in the previous issue that I dropped, I'm probably going to get another issue of it, like Rat City, for example. Even that all new Venom, I may get another one on top of that. As an example, I also went through, and I'll mostly talk about it on the Saturday show, and dropped a couple of more things, especially stuff that was piling up on the backlog. I'm like, who am I trying to impress at this point of all these different books? I'm like, I need to keep up with them for whatever reason. The thing with comic books, right, is so many these things just stop and go, or it ends at a particular part. A new creative team will then pick it up. It's not the end of the world if I just stop in the middle of a story. And if I really want to continue it for whatever reason, there are, those online subscription resources that I can do. And anyways, so I'll go through that list. But as I say that, I'm still going to probably get another issue. And I think things will probably level out even longer than when I expected. I thought maybe 2 weeks from now, but it's probably actually going to be more like 6 weeks from now where things will actually start to level out. So which means the next previews is going to be pretty light, but then hopefully the preview after that, we should be in a pretty good spot. So anyways, sorry, that was a big old tangent. Let's get back to Bronze Faces number 3. So I'm actually glad that I got this one because this one was actually pretty good. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. I like where we're going now. We basically have a Robin Hood style story where we have a group of African, 20s-ish kids going around stealing back artifacts that were stolen from them in the first place. So I should say repossessing artifacts that were stolen from them in the first place from different museums and things along those lines. So the first couple of jobs go really well, and they're getting a lot of notoriety for it, and they're doing, kind of like the Taliban style, like videos afterwards as well that are all encrypted, and people are actually cheering for them rather than, hating against them. We have a Luigi Mangione type of situation, like clearly something that was illegally and illegal is taking place, but people seem to be all about it. So that's kind of the situation that we got going on here. But it's getting to the point where they're getting a lot of heat and like, maybe we should lay off of this. But then the crew, they just have internal arguments on what we should do and the why behind it, right? And the why is these are our artifacts in the first place. They were stolen. We should continue to do this, for our country and for our heritage and what we stand for. And that still argument and dissension between all of them, basically. So you have 2 that they're banging on the side and like they're having like a lover's quarrel, so there's that issue. You have another one who's like kind of a misfit, but she loves one of them, but the other one's not giving her a lot of attention, so you have that as misfits. You have one who's like, dude, this is too hot, we gotta just drop this, like I'm out, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. So you have that, right? You have basically the beginnings of like, all right, I don't know how much longer this can go. And then sure enough, they go on to the next job and it goes sideways, right? And they're leaving on boat and a whole bunch of security was after them. And the jig is basically up that people are on high alert. And one of them basically gets shot on the way as they're driving off on the boat. And I was like, dang. And I just dropped it now. Like things are starting to get like crazy interesting. But hopefully I get one more issue and then we'll see whether or not I want to continue with it or not. But the first couple were just tough because there's a lot of African words in here, so it's just tough of like you're reading it in your head, and like you have to reread it a couple of times before you like, and then you still don't even know whether or not you're pronouncing something in your head correctly or not with the names and everything that's going on. But the book itself is good. The art is kind of so-so, so let's flip over to that. It's not the greatest, but also not the worst. I actually think this book is better than some of the other two books on the art side, right? So like something like this is pretty cool, right? It's not just your standard panel, and you have where the text bubbles are popping up. Those are interesting, right? Here we have a scene where basically they're like, hey, we need to crack down on this. This is happening on this international theft. We have another pretty cool scene that takes place here. So yeah, you got some cool stuff that goes throughout. So Bronze Faces, number 3. Do you have to start here? Let me think on that. Technically no, because you're going to understand the crux of it by reading this book, but you're not going to understand maybe how all these kids came together in the first place. But I don't think you need it either. So I think you'd actually be fine to jump into this one at this issue if you really wanted to. I'd say you probably want to start at 1, but I think you'd be okay. So that's Bronze Faces number 3. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. Next up here is the Power Fantasy. And I was actually down on this one compared to others. There's this part I really had to research and understand why I was so off. So we'll get to that. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.4. There is a big reveal at the end of this. And at first, it didn't hit me hard. And I still, even after doing the research on it, I was like, I still don't know why this should hit so hard. And it feels like I have to reread this whole thing. It's so confusing. The best way to describe it is it's X-Men, but to the nth degree. And very gritty and very over the top as far as shock value. So if you're familiar with The Boys TV series, it's more like that than like kind of your X-Men on the Marvel side, just like happy-go-lucky, but X-Men even is not very happy-go-lucky either. It can get extraordinarily brutal as well, so not the greatest comparison, but it just takes it to another level than the X-Men is really what I'm trying to emphasize here. And so we have these powerful beings with these crazy superhero powers, but they always take everything to like this crazy extent as far as like the death and the morality and everything, and like how each one of these actions, the ripple effects that it can have across all of humanity. So we have folks on 2 sides. We have NTN and Valentina, which are basically on the left side of things, and then on the right side we have Magus and Eliza. And so then there's some others. Mansumi is another one as well. And then we have Heavy as well, too. And he's like on the far left of everything. And so there's this big power conflict between all of them on how they should go about ruling the world, basically. And Heavy has a son. He's about to reveal the son to the world. The world doesn't know that he has a son, and he is a super as well. And so that's going to freak out the world if they end up doing that. They don't want the world to then retaliate with armament and nuclear weaponry. NTN and Valentina. Valentina is effectively Wonder Woman, is a good way to describe her. A mix of that and Superman together. NTN is like Professor Xavier. Eliza is like this crazy demonic being. And then Magnus is almost like a mage-style wizard. But all of them can like destroy civilizations with like the snap of a finger, right? NTN could like literally end all of mankind with like a thought. Valentina is like strong enough, I think, to like punch into the center of the earth and the whole earth explodes. So on and so forth. So it's a very, very, very delicate balance struggle between everything. And in this issue, Mansumi is the one that can summon a kaiju, so Godzilla or whatever. So, and it's based on her emotions. So if she is sad, then it's a bad day for everyone, right? And it creates a whole monster, comes out of the ocean, attacks Tokyo type of situation. And that has happened in the past. And basically, I think it was like issue 4 or something like that. It's revealed that Mansumi has a girlfriend, but NTN has her under his spell and is forcing her to date Mansumi and keep her happy. So that way Mansumi doesn't lose it. In this issue, the girlfriend either somehow breaks out of it, or NTN didn't get to her fast enough because he has to keep doing this spell, because over time, like, he can't be too forceful about it because she'll basically die and her brain will turn to mush. But at the same time, he can't also then, a side effect is he has to do it multiple times of like putting the spell on her in order to keep her like cognitively fit, but then not do it too much. And I don't know if he missed it or if she broke free or whatever the case is. But she basically explains to Matsumi, like, here's all the terrible crap that you did when you lost it the first time. And Matsumi's girlfriend lost family in that last, like, tragedy. And so NTN and Valentina, like, freaking out, mostly NTN. It's like, oh my gosh, she's going to lose it. Like, all these people are going to die who have, no way of being able to protect themselves. And suddenly Matsumi is, like, able to control herself and things are fine and everything's okay. So that seems good. Finally something that positive that comes out of this book. But then on the other side of the spectrum, Magus and Eliza, here's where the reveal comes. Magus wants to team up with Eliza, and then they go after the other three, Valentina, NTN, and Heavy. But Magus is like, I have something I need to reveal to you, and you can't freak out. And so he's like, all right, well, she's like, what is it? So Magus died 35 years ago, and she takes off the head and turns, it's like a mask or whatever, like a Daft Punk thing, and reveals who he is. And it's Dev, who is Eliza's husband, who she thought was dead. Now, this is where I was an idiot, and I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know who Dev is. I don't recall him being mentioned whatsoever. And maybe it was earlier on where you have all these different names and these different powers, and they're trying to set it up, this non-linear storytelling, and it's like, this person did this person did that, and it's all like this big shock value, but it's coming together, but it's taking a while to come together. So I'm like, in that, did I miss exactly who this person is exactly? I don't know. And so I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, what a crazy reveal. And I'm like, I don't know who this person is. What are we talking about? And then when she said Dev, I read this a while ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And I was like, I don't even know if they said who it was. And it's like, I see Dev, D-E-V. And I'm like, oh, okay, did she just like say some sort of onomatopoeia? And then I keep looking up, I see Dev, and then they're like, yeah, and her husband Dev. And I was like, it didn't land with me, clearly. And I think that's the big reason why I'm a half point off on all this. So let's go and flip over to the art then and take a look how things look there. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting concept. It's going to require like a reread from the beginning to end. Clearly, if you couldn't tell, this is not a good point to jump into this book whatsoever. The art is pretty cool. I do like what they're doing here. See, this is Heavy. And at first it's like, oh, is it Heavy at the end? But it's like, that doesn't look like Heavy. So that's Magus that you're looking at right there. You have Matsumi and her, oh, sorry, that's Matsumi. That's her girlfriend, talking about all the craziness that took place. And it seems like she's about to flip out. In this pyramid section here is where Magus and Eliza are meeting. So NTN, for whatever reason, can't go in there with his mind, so they can't see whatever they're plotting. And just to keep the balance, they're letting them do their thing. So there's Eliza. You can see she's like this evil demonic thing, and she reveals herself here. But at the end here is where this big reveal comes. Yeah, and so it's Dev, and I'm like, I look at this face, and it's like, I don't recall who this is. But yeah, he says that he's sorry about it, and then Magus died back in 89. So it was a while back, but for this reveal did not land for me. I'm like, who the heck is this? Is what it is. Either way, I do like the book. I like trying to figure out where it's all going to go, how it's all going to land. That's all been good to me. But for this one, I don't know, maybe I just need to pay attention more. It could be me. Tough to tell. But still, I gave it a 4. Billy gave it a 4.4. So next up we have, and this one is incredible. So we're taking everyone down with us. Man, I'm enjoying this book. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not, especially from the issue 1, but now we are going places. So I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And this book is just excellent stuff that we got going on here. How do I describe it? This book, it reveals we have 2 factions. We have effectively MI6, secret agency, and we have a league of villains. So that is what it's come down to. So our main protagonist girl, Annalise, her dad is like the supervillain that created all these robots. And they're out in the middle of the woods doing their own thing. They're attacked. And when they're attacked, father looks like he dies. And sure enough, confirmed that he did. But one of these robots, the dad in this issue, you find out for sure, linked up his memories into the robot AI. And now that AI is looking after Eliza. In this attack, and this is all, it's pretty linear storytelling, but there's some non-linear aspects to it. We're trying to figure out what all is happening, and it makes it a lot clearer in this issue. There's this council of these villains, and Eliza's dad, was part of it. So he's called the Vitruvian, and for whatever reason, he left. And some of the council members were really pissed off about it. Some of them are like, it's fine, whatever. He's off doing his own thing. And at first you think that they're all trying to kill him or something, but you don't really understand the motives behind it. Then you have the other side, the MI6, and you're like, maybe they're going after him together, but you don't know the relationship and how all this works. But basically you find out in this issue, it's very clear, MI6 side, and they are actually kind of more the bad guys, it's seeming like, and then the League of Villains. So, a den of thieves, basically. You're friends until you're not. And you have this guy right here towards the top, Dr. Mortis. He was very close with the Vitruvian, Annalise's dad. He wants to go out and find him now that they know where his location is. So he goes out there. But in the previous issue, the attack took place. The MI6 were the one that did it and killed the Vitruvian. The daughter was just left. So when Dr. Mortis shows up, he just sees the daughter and he sees the AI robot. And he knows that the AI robot is, a invention of the Vitruvian. So he takes him, takes the daughter and takes the AI. Daughter doesn't really know what she's going on. She's like maybe 12 years old or something like that. Whole bunch of smart ass remarks throughout all of this. That's a nice piece of it. It's very quippy, but actually done really well and very mature in a lot of its comedy. And she's trying to figure out what all is going on. So they were out on a raft, picked her up onto the boat, and now they're onto a train. And Dr. Mortis, he then reconvenes with this whole legion of villains, and they're all talking about what to do next. Dr. Mortis is like, you won't believe it. I have the daughter. We think that he's dead. I don't really know what to do. And they're like, well, if you have the daughter and he's dead, like, there's like a million things we can do, but like, maybe you shouldn't have her captive, right? And he's like, no. Me and the Vitruvian, we go back. We got to figure this all out. I'm going to see what to do. But one of the council members, she was on the Vitruvian side. She finds out that he's dead. So her assumption is that Dr. Mortis was the one that did it when he did not. It was the MI6 guys. When they said in the first issue, do not kill him, they all wanted to. She did not. They need a unanimous decision. She assumes that Dr. Mortis went behind their back and just went ahead and killed. So on the MI6 side, they're all freaking out on what to do. So they're like, okay, we just need to go and secure Annalise and this AI robot. On the villain side, she then meets up and has the meeting with everyone and basically is like, you know what, I've decided that if you were going to not listen to our rules, then I am going to do whatever I need to do. And so she sends off a whole bunch of missiles to the train to blow it up with Annalise and the AI on it. So that all happens. While that's happening, Annalise and the robot are fighting their way through the train, and you realize that Annalise has all these like superpower reflexes as though she is like a trained assassin basically, and she's like, why can I do this? She's like, why do I know that this gun can shoot at this particular this many feet per second, and it has this many rounds in it, I know exactly where to put it. Just like, I don't understand. And the AI is the father in a way, right? So he's like alluding to like, well, maybe this, maybe that. He hasn't revealed himself to Annalise yet. It is like so cool. All this, it's all coming together, and if you read it, it makes sense, and I'm loving where it's going. It is such a fresh breath of air on a whole bunch of superhero stuff, and then you have like this. It's like spy, espionage, League of Supervillains. Which side like is actually the good guys, which is the bad guys? This girl character is like kind of a badass. It's excellent stuff. I highly recommend it. So let's flip to the art here. The art is pretty cool, but it is kind of the standard paneling, I'd say, for the most part. A bunch of text bubbles here. So it's nothing too crazy there. But it is more about just the storytelling itself and the world that they're creating here. And it took until this issue for me to get into it. So I would kind of keep that in mind. And then, yeah, that's the missiles going towards the trains, basically blowing everyone else up. But I'm loving the hell out of it. I can't wait for the next one. Obviously, I gave it a great score. Lee gave it a great score as well. You want to start with number 1 for sure. Do not start here. You needed that kind of slow burn to get you to where things really start to pick up and are awesome here. If you start here, you're going to be like, I don't know what the F's going on. Start with 1. So that's everyone, or sorry, we're taking everyone down with us. Issue 3. And then next up here, we just have 3 more on the docket. We have Storm number 3. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. I was surprised, but a happy surprise to see that it was above a 4. I thought for sure it was going to be a 3 and change, only because it just goes in like the most random places. So we have Storm. She has left the X-Men. She's with the Avengers, but she's kind of off doing her own thing. She's trying to run for politics. Go to find out that she goes to save this kid, or this town that's affected by a nuclear power plant that is melting down. And from all the meltdown, like, of course, a whole bunch of people died and things like that. But you basically find out that it wasn't the power plant that malfunctioned, or like the engineers or anything like that. It was a mutant that got their powers, and it created this whole incident that took place. So now she's got to like play both sides of the politics of it all. And she picks up this like radioactive poisoning thing. So in the last issue, she goes and she finds a mutant doctor. The mutant doctor basically says like, yeah, this is like a totally different type of radiation. You got to go see a specialist, and you have literally 6 hours to live. So she goes and searches throughout, it looks like the universe, and she's able to find Dr. Voodoo, and Dr. Voodoo can take care of her. So this issue, very quickly, he's like, okay, I made a deal with the devil. We've removed whatever your illness is, but now you won't have your powers for 7 days. It's like, okay. Storm's like, that's fine. I will live with that trade-off if I get to see another day, or even past the next 6 hours. So Dr. Voodoo was like, yep, so you can now go and leave and just do your own thing. So that's what Storm does, and she decides to meet up with the Uncanny Avengers. So that's Rogue, that's Wolverine, that's Gambit, and Nightcrawler. They're down the bayou, all hanging out, trying to teach some new mutants how to become the next generation of X-Men, right? So she meets up, sees everyone, so happy to see them. And then she starts training with Logan, because now that she doesn't have her power, she's like, now's a good time to sharpen up basically the skills there. So they start fighting and training over the next couple of days. And then suddenly, in the heat of the moment, they just start hooking up. So they just start banging out of nowhere for no reason. They hook up that day, and then Storm's like, all right, well, I regret that. I got to get out of here now. And not that she was really planning on leaving, but in the middle of the night, this huge colossal raven comes up to her window and is like, hey, are you Storm? He's like, yeah. So you've been summoned by the Sorcerer Supreme Doom. Do you accept? And she's like, yeah, but she doesn't want to tell this being that she doesn't have her power. She's like, can you take me there? And he's like, all right, I guess so. But like, you're Storm, right? You can just appear there. He's like, yeah, but formalities and everything, I just want it to look good. And so that's what she decides to do. Logan wakes up the next morning, seems indifferent about the whole situation, and that's basically how it ends. So Storm is now off, still without her powers, to see Doctor Doom after screwing Logan. Weird book, but good nonetheless. I mean, I gave it a 4, Lee gave it a 4.2. So it's just an interesting of like, all that happened in this issue. Yeah, all that happened in this one issue alone. So let's go to the artwork here. Art's very good. I do like this a lot, actually. So here is where it removed all the ailments. It's like I literally removed every ailment that you ever had. So at this very moment, you are the most healthiest being like of all eternity. It's basically the way that he phrased it. So, and he's like, yeah, okay, you can go now. So she just leaves and then heads down to the bayou, where they run into the Uncanny Avengers here, and that's where they all meet up with Rogue and co. and are hanging out, fighting, into some more fighting, into the passionate lovemaking, into the Raven that shows up at the window, into yeah, I gotta go, bye, and hang out with Dr. Doom. Crazy. Such a weird and bizarre book, but very good again. Very, very good. So that's story number 3. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. On our second to last one here, we have Ghost Rider versus Galactus. This is part of those one-shots. Second to last one here, the next one is going to be Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. So this book, you can see I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. It was a pretty cool, interesting one-shot, I would say. We start off with The Thing, actually. So he's going off, just doing kind of local superhero stuff, nothing too crazy. But then Ghost Rider then shows up, and he has to, they're trying to stop it's like a petty, no, it's not a petty crime, it's a murder. It's like, did you commit murder for this person? And The Thing's trying to figure it out, and Ghost Rider shows up, and he does his penance stare, which basically judges whether or not you're telling the truth, and if you're lying, you are engulfed in flames and are sent to hell. So sure enough, that guy is engulfed in flames and completely smolders, and he's, I guess, sent to hell. And the thing is like, that's interesting. You know, Ghost Rider, have you tried that like on other beings? And how exactly does that work? It's like, well, it's not a thing of science. It's like, it's a curse. It's magic in a way. It's like, so have you tried that on Galactus? And Ghost Rider's like, no, why would I try that on Galactus? Well, things like, well, think about it. Think of all the people that he's killed, the millions upon billions, if not trillions of beings. You know, certainly he's guilty of murder. So why don't you go out there and confront Galactus and see if we can stop him and stop him for good, because none of our science is working on the Fantastic Four. So I was like, all right, that's an interesting premise. And Ghost Rider's like, you know, screw it, I'll do it. He's like, now I got to figure out how to get to space. So there's a rocket that's about to take off. He literally drives up in his motorcycle, hops up onto it, attaches to it in like this like octopus style tentacle-y thing at the front of the ship, catapults him off into space, and he goes to find Galactus. So he finds him. He just finished consuming whatever he consumed, and Ghost Rider stares him down. And then he actually blows up into the side of Galactus. He's like, all right, are you paying attention now? Galactus was like, yeah. It's like, okay, good. Now stare into my eyes at the penance stare. And he's staring and staring and staring, and then nothing. Galactus literally just turns away, walks off. Ghost Rider's like, what the hell? Why didn't it work? And this is when the Watcher doesn't interfere, because that's this whole thing. He doesn't interfere, but he intervenes. He's like, hey, this isn't going to work. And he's like, well, why not? He's killed all these people. Like, we know that for a fact. He's like, well, you don't understand. Like, Galactus, this is his nature. He's not doing anything beyond that. Would you be weirded out if a cheetah ate a gazelle, right? It's like, no, it's just what they do. That's what Galactus does. He just consumes. He has this hunger and he needs to consume. And it basically just goes on to explain the universe. Galactus was born at the same time of the Big Bang. There's always one of these, and them consuming and absorbing all this different beings and humanity and life forces and culture and this, that, and the other is what the universe needs until it gets to the point where he's fully consumed, and then he explodes and he's the next Big Bang, and then the next one of his species is then sent off. And so them consuming is effectively planting the seed for then the next universe. So that's why. And so Watcher explains all that. Ghost Rider's, that's BS. And then Watcher's like, yep, kind of is what it is. And then sends him back to Earth. And that's it. So, yeah, it was a good book. I mean, overall, I'd say the art is a big piece of it. I do like, look, that's where he gets basically to the size of Galactus. But I like kind of like the interesting concept as well. That was pretty cool. This is where you're judging just kind of that local guy. I want to show you the part where he gets onto the spaceship, though, because that's, like, ridiculous. Yeah, here we go. So he goes and he flies onto it with all these tentacles, and he basically gets onto it connected here, and then flying on the tip of this rocket ship with, like, these tentacle arms around it. So ridiculous. And then this is where Galactus has consumed this one place. And, you know, kind of get onto it with the Watcher. So, like, yeah, look at this art, right? It's just pretty insane from a line art perspective, and then the coloring too just takes it to a different level. So it's yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, it's a one shot, so is it the time to jump in? Well, of course it is. It's just a one-off, which is cool. I love anything Galactus. It tends to be really good stuff, so at least for me anyways, of what I'm interested in. I say that, but there was Ultraman, which I was reviewing as well, and that was like a crossover with Marvel, and that was freaking terrible. So maybe not everything. They say you should really follow creators and not follow characters, because you will get burned. by just following characters. So that is something to keep in mind for sure. But either way, this was really good. Who did this one? Skarzinski, which makes sense. Yeah, another incredible one. So, yeah. That is Ghost Rider vs. Galactus. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Last but not least, certainly not least, we have Ultimate Wolverine number 6. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This one is the comic of the episode. If you saw the highlights, I had this as the comic of the last week's polls as well. Cover art is dope already to start. The art itself, let's just go ahead and flip over to League real quick so I can show you the score. I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.1. This book is nuts. I'll just go ahead and get right into the art. Basically, we have an issue here of Logan trying to break the hold of being the Winter Soldier. So it's like a bad, trippy nightmare, and Logan trying to fight his way out. But it's the art that does a lot of the storytelling, and then the text is kind of just there for support. So it's more the art than it is actually the text, which is what I love in comic book storytelling. To me, that's the whole point. Otherwise, you would just have a novel, right? You wouldn't have the words in the text. You wouldn't have the art. You would just have the text. So that's like what takes it to an absolute next level for me. And this book, it hits on all of those notes, right? So you have the paneling of like the overlapping. I'm always a sucker for that. But you have great splash pages here as well. You have some like dark, gruesome, gritty bits. You have just these one-liners of like, you know, who are you, Logan? Like, do you remember? Do you recall? Try to fight back. Like, can you fight back? And then, sure enough, he awakens at the opposition, which is effectively the X-Men here in the world of the Ultimate Universe. And they're basically like, hey, you know, welcome back, soldier, this, that, the other. So I just really, really enjoyed it. And sure enough, he's ready to go. So it's just excellent, excellent stuff here. Fighting through his demons, trying to get back and remember who he is. It's like I don't even really need to explain the whole thing. Logan was the Winter Soldier before. He's run into a couple of his cohorts throughout a couple of different missions. Finally got to the point where Sabretooth, of all people, who he's teamed up with, captured him. They brought him back, and it looks like they've kind of snapped him out of the spell. So is this the one to jump into? Certainly not. You want to go towards the beginning here. But we're at the point where it's like, okay, now we're going to get back at it's Omega Red, Colossus, and Magic in particular for this part of the story that he's going after. And I'm all about it. It's just so incredibly good. Start to finish, this has actually been one of the best. I'd say, actually, on the Ultimate side, better than Spider-Man, in my opinion. And some people will say sacrilege, but I think there are some Spider-Man freaks out there for sure, right? There are people that are just like, they are ride or die Spider-Man. And if it's not done exactly how they like it, it is the worst thing they've ever experienced. They want to burn everything down. But if it is done correctly, there's no matching it. It's epitome. It's number one. Nothing else even comes close. So that's how Spider-Man fans are. They're weird like that. And for me, I'm like, okay, like I get it. And I feel like I have to be really careful of, you know, what you say around them or like how you feel about a book. But then these books become way overhyped. It's because nothing is just good with Spider-Man. It's either the greatest thing ever or it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of comic books. So there's no in between. So I'm always then expecting the greatest thing that I've ever read. And sure, like 9 times out of 10, I'm completely disappointed, right? Who can live up to that expectation? Literally no one. But then you have something like this where I came in not expecting a damn thing, and then you read through it, it's like, holy shit, like we're going all these different places. It's dark, it's gritty, it's moody. It's exactly what you would expect for Wolverine to be like. I love the twist of him being the Winter Soldier. It's incredible stuff. So enjoying the hell out of that. So that's Wolverine, or Ultimate Wolverine, number 6. So that's a wrap, folks. Let's go through the books one last time so you have everything start to finish. Go through it in the order that we reviewed them. Again, this wasn't supposed to be this banger of an issue as far as like the quality of the books on it. Complete happenstance. I would prefer this to be kind of the Saturday issue and everything else is supplementary. But hey, if we had a really good one, we have a really good one. That's I'll take it, right? Obviously, I want everything to be a good episode in the end. So we have Imperial number 1 here. Sorry. Let's actually flip over to the main camera feed. Imperial, number 1. Justice League Unlimited, number 7. Void Rivals, number 19. The Infinity Watch, number 5. Bronze Faces, number 3. The Power Fantasy, number 9. We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, number 3. Storm, number 3. Ghost Rider versus Galactus. And Ultimate Wolverine, number 6, which was the comic of the episode. So that will wrap it up. Again, next post should be the next Omega on Thursday is the plan. So I hope to see you guys there. That'll mostly be backlogs as of right now. Yeah, there were a couple of other ones that I left off. So you'll have some things that are current, but it'll mostly be backlogs is how it's shaping up to be. But yeah, Thursday is my hope to have that posted. But in the meantime, if you want to follow me on the social media channels, everything's going to be in the description on the YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But sometimes it's good to just go ahead and call those things out as well. So on Instagram, it's Saturday Morning Comic Review. I like to post, here are the polls that I got for the week. Here are what the highlights are for the week. And I'm going to try to start getting to some short form content as well. I have a couple of ideas that I just want to tinker with and see if they come out okay. We'll have to see. The other thing I do is once I finish a run, usually I like showing off all the different titles that or cover art anyways for those books as well. So be on the lookout for that. TikTok is the Helpful Bailiff. The same content goes on Instagram, but if you prefer TikTok, it'll be there as well. And then on League, where all these books are reviewed, is the Helpful Bailiff as well. You can see what I reviewed, what I rated it, the whole 9 if you want to follow and see the whole list of the collection. Of course, that's going to be there. And then lastly, Saturday morning, cbreview@gmail.com. That is where we have the email address. If you have any questions, tips, tricks, things you love about the show, things you hate about the show, feel free to send those in. All advice is welcomed and will be considered. Will be considered. We'll just put it that way. So with that, we'll go ahead and close it out. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.